It is now time to experience the buzz, a podcast that takes an inside look at amazing people doing amazing things. Get ready for some great conversation that will be fascinating, educational, and inspiring. We will also leave room to help small businesses in a big way. Now, here's your host, entrepreneur Steve Buzzard.
Hello, everyone, and welcome in. It is Experience the Buzz, the podcast. I'm your host, Steve Buzzard. And I know if you follow the program, you're like, what's going on, Steve? Are you okay? And the answer is YES. Yes, everything's okay. But for the first time since we have started this podcast back in January of 2021, we've had our longest stretch. I've had my longest stretch of not being able to bring you a podcast, and it is eating me alive. So what I wanted to do was just basically do a mini episode, kind of give you an update on things, tell you where I'm at, and then what is coming ahead. And I'll start off by saying this, Experience the Buzz has not died. No way, no way, no way. I love it way too much. And I had to admit, I was just feeling guilty after, not the first week, because we've had other times where 1 week has gone by and then we've done an episode. But after it got past 2 weeks, I realized, I'm like, oh man, this is eating me alive. I'm an A-type personality, so it does me no good. But I had to allow myself to say, you know what? Okay, it's okay to put it on the back burner, because we know with podcasts, although you want to kind of gain momentum and keep that momentum going and also serve you, the listener, by being consistent, that, you know what, sometimes life does happen. And it's interesting because kind of the crossroads is what happened in my last episode in parallel with what I'm going through now, which is I'm back into a full-time job. So the first part of it was the last episode was episode number 128. And it was a recount or a refresh of my family trip to Maui. And I do want to say a lot of you in town, good friends around the way, have made mentions of it. And I just want to thank you. I was not sure how that would come across. I knew one part of it in doing that episode was simply therapy. I just needed an outlet. And for me, for some reason, the podcast was a great way to do it. So thank you for those of you that listened and were able to take that in. I will say that we just recently had a trip up to Tahoe, and it was a couple weeks after the fact, and it was on Labor Day, and we were in Tahoe, and we were sitting at dinner, and I thought it was important that I just asked the simple question of, how is everybody doing? Because we knew, and we had talked about as a family, that it was important to keep the conversation going, because each of us, although collectively we went through it, we were all going to be affected differently. So that was really good. And so I will say things since then, it's been good, because I have been able to talk about it within that setting with my wife, Kristen, with my family, and others who have asked about it. I do think it's very interesting to me. So I don't know. I feel like this happens with big events. Is it's so easy to turn the page. And I really get bothered by that. It's like Maui's not even in the news now, but yet for me, I'm just like, how are things going? So I just try to do a check-in, whether it be online, just to see, what is the progress that is taking place there. So, Maui will always be a part of me, because of this tragedy that took place. So yeah, that's one thing. That was the last episode. So again, episode number 128. And a big reason why I have to admit, I try to fit everything in that I can, but this is the reason I had to put ETB on the back burner, is I'm back to teaching. Okay. So you may or may not, I don't know if I've shared that story, but I was a teacher for 26 years. I think that part, as far as my story is concerned, but I've got a special situation where my son, Max, is at a local school here in Sacramento called Sacred Heart, and he is in line to become the athletic director and PE teacher. Well, right now, him and I share those athletic director duties. He is running the extension program. I'm doing PE, and he'll take over that position next year. So it was just one of those opportunities that I couldn't say no. It was for a good friend, Teresa Sparks, and just kind of all the stars aligned. And so I am back teaching kids. And I will tell you, it took me a minute to get back into teaching PE. The athletics part was no problem because that's more like running buzzer ball, which I do year round with my winter league and summer camp and summer league. But teaching, oh my gosh, that was definitely an eye-opener, not because of the little kids, because that's who I taught for 26 years. I taught pre-K or TK all the way through fourth grade, but I had never taught PE to middle schoolers. And boy, what an adventure. It has been a fun one. It was a little rough in the beginning because obviously they're a lot different than what I like to call sponges as little kids. But I will tell you, it has been a great, great time for me because now I've been able to establish relationships. I do admit it's a little strange for me because I know that my commitment is 1 year and then I'm out. So it's like, it's just a strange feeling in that sense because I'm an all-in guy, and so that's just how I'm treating it. But also I know that come June when school is out, I'll be done, right? Back to retired life. And I say that August of 2024, that's when I'm truly back to retired life because I'll have summer camp next year. So anyways, that's kind of just a breakdown of where we're at. I also wanted to let you know that in the midst of all this, I have been going strong with another element of this podcast, and that's been our first look segment. So here's the deal. If you're a heavy metal fan, I invite you to check out First Look. It's not on the podcast form. We're only on the YouTube channel, but you can go to Heavy Metal Thunder, First Look, and you'll see all our videos. We've actually posted almost 200 videos. That's right. We've been cranking them out, and I'm having a lot of fun. I'm a metalhead at heart. I'm not a drinker. I'm not a smoker, but man, you put me in the car, put on some heavy metal, show me a good concert, I am good to go. I just saw Electric Callboy. I never even knew about this band. And we just saw them. And when I say we, it's me and my producer, Michael Kenobi. And speaking of Michael Kenobi, we're very excited because I've been waiting on him because he's actually going to be a guest on this program, not because he's my producer, although that would be great as well, and we'd love to hear his story, but he is on a new business adventure. That's right, it's called Mikey Mo's, and it's a catering company specifically for meats, okay? And it's really good. I'm going to let him describe it. We're going to bring him on for a full episode and get his story. Michael's been huge for me because ever since episode number 80, which was Chemo and Dakota of Fruit Frenzy, Michael has come on board, and he really has been a lifesaver for me. It's one of those points where up until that point, I had done all my editing, but it was only on the audio side. I wanted a YouTube presence, but I'm like, I do not have the time or knowledge to figure it out. And this is one of those points when you figure out if you can find someone who is really good at something that you're not, it is worth paying them and letting them take over. And what I love about Michael is not only does he produce a great product with Experience the Buzz and First Look, you know what? He's really kind of looking out for things that can make us better as a podcast, whether it be guest, whether it be production, whether it be trying something new. He's always throwing out ideas at me. So I'm very excited because Michael will be on the program. That'll be coming up in about a week or two. He's that close to launching this great business of his. I'm very excited for him because on Experience the Buzz, what do? We highlight entrepreneurs, small business owners, and personalities, and Michael definitely fits that. And what's to come. So the future, you've got Michael that'll be coming on. I've got some guests lined up. I am really going to try to get back into this despite the fact that I am still teaching and my time is really closed. I really do love doing this podcast. And again, I go back to you, the listener. It's interesting because when I do a podcast, I usually think of one person, and her name is Dee. So Dee is the one person, her kids went to St. Michael's where I taught. They're all grown up now. They're big adults now. And Dee, I believe, has listened to every episode. When we recorded our 100th episode, I reached out to her to say, hey, could you just give a shout out and maybe tell us what you were thinking? She was glad to do that. We shared that in the 100th episode. But I feel like I'm always doing the podcast for her. So in a way, in addition to whoever listens out there, I feel like I've let Dee down. But I know Dee would understand as she listens to the podcast when she goes on her long runs along the American River. So that is very good. And some other things I've discovered is just that I'm just ready. I'm ready to continue this journey and just wanted to jump on board for, again, what I would call a mini episode, just to let you know where we're at that and let you know that Experience the Buzz will continue its journey, highlighting those great entrepreneurs out there, those great small business owners, and then other stories that come along. We've had a lot of good ones. What would you do at this point? Here's the deal. The way when I did all these interviews, they obviously happened right at their appointed time. But my approach to the interview was always to be sure that it stood the test of time. So even if you went back to the very first couple of episodes, right? Like Tim Collum, Jason Ross, Skip Wall of Skip's Kitchen, if you listen to those, they should stand the test of time. So what I'm trying to say is I invite you to go back into the archives. The beautiful thing is we now have a presence everywhere. So you can go to the website, buzzardball.com. You can access there either on YouTube or on the audio side. You can go to Apple Podcasts. You can go to Spotify Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and there's just so many ways. And then, of course, check out our YouTube channel. We would love for you to subscribe, right? And what that does on both the audio end and the video end, and we'll talk about that in a second of how you receive, the information that we give you here on Experience the Buzz. But you'll just be alerted to brand new material that comes out. You get that little ding. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's very easy. And again, nothing outside of that. So with doing both the audio and the video side, what I do love about that is I learned as a teacher is that everybody learns differently and receives information differently. Like I am a very visual guy. So you may be that person as well. So check it out on YouTube, right? You can still listen to a podcast on YouTube in a car, right? That is possible now. Technology is mind-blowing now. And then on the audio side, of course, you have access there as well. And here's my goal. I would just love to be in your top 5, right? We all have our top 5 podcasts that we listen to. For me, I'm just going to be honest with you. Let's see. Darren Daly. Okay, I get that. That's my small little snippet of inspiration for the day. I'm a big Megyn Kelly fan. Not going to lie. Love Megyn Kelly. The daily or the Bible recap. So I listen to the Bible every day. Those are my top 3. Getting Better Every Day with Matt, the mortgage guy, who is actually a guest here and was a former sponsor. And let's see, who would be the 5th one? I think those are my top 4 right there. Oh, David Richards. David Richards, who is a good friend, is one of the reasons that I got into podcasting. I listened to him as well. So I would say those top 3, those are definitely my rotation. And then those 2 who are guests that have been on the program, I listen to them as well. So if you've got a great podcast that you would like to suggest, you can put it right down in the suggestion box and I'll definitely take a look at that. So that is going to take care of this mini episode of Experience the Buzz. Do want to thank our sponsors. They are still on board. R5 Stitch and Print with my good friend Troy Rousey. You can find them at r5print.com. Of course, Pit Boss Jerky, led by Joe Green, and still waiting for that website. I know it's going to come. I know I sound like a broken record, but Joe has promised me that it is around the corner. He's got 11 amazing flavors, including a flavor that is named right after this program. Yeah, that's so cool. And then, of course, Mike Mo's is going to be a sponsor, but we're going to make that official when we interview Michael on this program. So I want to thank R5, Stitch and Print, Pit Boss Jerky. So grateful to them because they have been with me since day one. That's right. That's pretty darn cool. So, you know what? We'll be looking forward to some more episodes. I would just say stay tuned. They'll be coming your way. I don't know how frequently. I'm going to try to get back onto that consistent routine. It might be every 2 weeks, but I will establish something that will be good for you, the listener. So I thank you for tuning in today, this special edition of Experience the Buzz. That's all I got for now. Talk to you next time. Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you for joining Steve this week on Experience the Buzz. Steve would love to hear from you. Leave a review or contact Steve directly with any questions at scbuzzard@gmail.com. To see the other adventures of Steve Buzzard, be sure to visit buzzardball.com.